What is up, folks? Happy Sunday morning here. We had a crazy week of pro wrestling, so we had to bring the crew together before in between pay-per-view. I mean, huge events coming up in 2 weeks too. Like we're building up to a crazy weekend. So got the squad together. Jake Micah, as always, with Maniac, Slick L, Mike Partham, and the newest member of Wrestling with Emotion, Troy LaCastro. Troy, cut your 30-second promo. This is your TV time, baby.
Yeah, boys, how we doing? We're coming up on a big week here. Obviously, the year anniversary of CM Punk showing up in AEW. So, I wanted to go back and feel nostalgia here. Obviously, it's church. It's the Lord's Day. In my Sunday best, my Jeff Jarrett all over print T-shirt. Had to make an impact right away, no pun intended, by one of the third companies that nobody pays attention to. But here we are. I'm ready to talk with you guys. Super excited. Thanks for letting me into the stable. And let's get to it.
Let's ride. That was electric.
The faction just got deeper.
We did. Did you take anybody out on the? Did you hit somebody with a chair? Anybody you're looking at? I guess we'll find out. Troy might be in here for some reasons we know beyond. Like he might have a steel chair.
The good magician doesn't tell you his tricks just yet.
Troy joining feels like Bret Hart joining the NWO, but in a good way.
Are you sure? Because NWO 2000 was something that everybody hates. So let's hope
that's what I'm saying. In a good way. Way.
All right, got more optimism.
Well, he does have a Jeff Jarrett shirt on, so it's very appropriate.
True.
Coming ain't not great? I guess that's what I gotta say. Ain't not great.
Well,
no, they're coming to get me now. Don't worry about that.
Sorry jeez.
Yeah, you're going to be joining Ronda Rousey in the cell.
Oh.
Yo, that was I see. Is that something we would have seen the last 6 months? The show starting like that? I don't know.
The shows seem to always start with just a touch of chaos, or maybe just end with a little bit of it.
Triple H did love his chaotic NXTs. He really did. That parking lot was one to be afraid of.
It still is. Last time I checked,
would have never wanted to walk through there by myself.
Oh my god.
He's definitely ramped up the brawls times 10.
Let's get in. All right, let's just get into it. What we always start the show with: what's your favorite storyline in wrestling right now? And there's so many to choose from. Real, fake, whatever storyline, real life, whatever you want to do. Maniac, start with you, buddy, and we'll go around here. Oh, Maniac's out. Never mind.
I'm back.
There he is. He's back.
Something's going on with my audio. I gotta leave. I'm getting taken out like Sami Zayn.
All right, Slick. What's your favorite thing going on right now?
I guess I'm just going to address the obvious and go CM Punk, Jon Moxley. I think this has potential to be the biggest match we've ever seen in AEW. I feel like I say that quite often, maybe monthly.
Every week, right?
Yeah, but this one's hype. As someone who kind of fell out of the WWE spell when Mox was really doing his thing over there, didn't really get to appreciate him as much then. Love his run as interim champion. The blood doesn't bother me. I think it's sick. I think it fits the character. Jon Moxley, he's badass. He's violent. And CM Punk, we all know how CM Punk can get. And that is kind of playing into... we'll get into it, but the dirt sheets at the moment as well. I'm also, I guess those two are how I characterize the storyline, but I'm interested to see what else could play into this potential Hangman Page beef. And there's a certain guy by the name of Maxwell that's been missing for months. So that'll be interesting. Maybe, surprise appearance in Chicago wouldn't be... that would be a pretty big way to bring a heel of that caliber back. So I got to go with CM Punk and Moxley, which is the obvious choice, but it has to be said.
What about you, Troy? Anything to jump in on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it's been a busy week, so I haven't really been able to catch up as much as I'd like to, but I will say that I did watch the Punk and Moxley segment that led off the show on Wednesday, and I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, I know these guys behind the scenes, obviously, ton of respect for each other, but the stuff that they were saying each other and letting each other get away with, I was like, that was some pretty good content, right? So that's an obvious thing for me, I would say. But also, too, I feel like we got to talk a little bit about maybe McIntyre and Roman Reigns. Why? You're probably wondering why
Yes, we do.
am I interested?
We do.
In that? But my thing is what? We're coming up. When's Clash at the Castle? Early September?
It's the day before
weekend.
All Out.
Yeah. Which obviously that's an H thing too. I mean, I know that was predetermined before H was in charge, but I remember when he used to run NXTs, the same day as or same day or right before AEW shows. But for me, first time back having a pay-per-view in the UK in a long time, I think at least for the main roster. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do to build up this storyline and see how they can deliver. Because I know sold out, I'm sure it's going to have big numbers in terms of streaming. So I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say pressure, but the fans are like, all right, this is his first pay-per-view in charge as the head of creative. What can he deliver? And obviously that's probably going to be your main event right there is McIntyre and Reigns. So something to keep an eye on.
Well said. Friday was a pretty good kickoff. I mean, not kickoff to the feud because they've been going on, but definitely the hottest segment they had. I mean, just what's the difference in everything? Reigns walking out alone, and like even though Sammy's involved in that segment and everything, like that's an image we haven't seen a lot at all. When Vince was running it, it was always with Paul walking in or with the Usos, something like giving Roman a chance to come out and do stuff on his own. And it just, I don't know, it had a different feel to it. Canada was hot on Friday too. Montreal they were in, right? Montreal was an awesome,
and I mean,
awesome crowd.
Up north is always great crowds. And you got to think, I know McIntyre, that promo that he cut on Monday, I'm sure we'll get into that, but just absolutely electric. And he's dropping phrases and stuff that people are going crazy over, right? So I think that's, a little bit to it too. And, does Drew get put over in the UK? That's obviously I think it's a plausible thing. I don't think it's too far-fetched. So might be something interesting to watch in the coming weeks before Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. What about you, Mike?
I mean, we'll get into the Punk, Mox, and other people involved in news going on this week things. Certainly there's intrigue about how Triple H's first full-on build to a pay-per-view is going to go. But for me, I think it's finally getting the Elite Civil War that we've been dying to see for the last 3 months or so because of injuries on one side or the other of the Mason-Dixon line there that's being drawn. Whether it's Adam Cole still not cleared, Kyle O'Reilly still not cleared. The Bucks had a little bit of a stinger during one of their tag matches. Kenny, of course, has been trying to come back for months and months now, couldn't make it to Forbidden Door. So finally getting all of them on screen and finally getting the battle lines being drawn. And I think Kenny is, not 100%, but I think that's what he wants. I think he's going to try and play that out a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, I heard Kota Ibushi, his old tag team partner in New Japan, did something similar when he came back from an injury. He played it up for a whole year about whether he still had it or not. And I think Kenny still has it, and maybe there'll be a legit botch here or two. I think we saw when he was doing that little somersault tumble move or whatever, and he's kind of like, whatever. And he tagged in one of the Bucks. But then you see him working in the match like he's trying to run the ropes, and he's sort of feigning a knee injury or whatever. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a combination work shoot. He's not quite all there yet, but they're gonna dwell on that. They're gonna draw on that, so to speak, as they go through the 6-man tag, which of course Tony kept saying, I'm not going to do the Trios Championship until Kenny gets back, and that's played out exactly as we have seen it. Yeah. But now how the promo is going to go when Kenny and Adam Cole are going to face off for the first time, and basically get out all the dirty laundry that's been festering for this time since Kenny's been out, and that last little segment after Kenny lost the title, where Adam Cole was thinking he was going to be in charge, but no, Kenny's leaving the Bucks in charge, and does the Bucks sort of giving the little nod to Hangman during that title match play into this somehow? Because Kenny said he hasn't watched the match back. But there was one little BTE segment where Kenny's kind of hanging out and, helping with the AEW game or whatever. But he mentions, how's Adam doing? Cole? No, Hanger. Yeah, don't get me started with Cole. He said something to that effect on a very quick BTE segment in the last few months. So there's a lot of layers to this, to the elite, to the undisputed guys, whichever you want to call them now. And that's been building for a while, and we've seen that coming for a while. And because of injuries, it just hasn't been able to play out this past summer, among other injuries, which have kept other storylines from happening. But I think finally getting the elite to finally, come to blows both over on the microphones and in the ring is going to be something to see.
Did you watch the 6-minute promo from Kenny?
Oh yeah, after on YouTube,
the whole thing. Yeah, what you said, talking about him feigning and maybe working through this on TV, whatever that's going to mean, whatever work shoot type of thing he did. He mentioned something very interesting that he said, listen, to the fans, he's like, I'm not going to be nice to you next week, that's for sure. He's like, and mentioned something to the effect of, I hope this doesn't air or something like that. So it seems like he's going to come at it with the intent of, I'm hurt and I'm coming back because these fans are demanding me to come back, and he resents them somehow for that. And that seems like Kenny Omega he's so great at doing shit like that. And imagine what Don Callis is going to get into with that too. Oh. I was really shocked to see man come out even. For some reason it was jarring because I wasn't expecting it. I know, Maniac, I know you were so excited to see the invisible hand there, Don Callis, come out.
Maniacs, Don Callis.
It was actually, to be honest, it was one of those things where it was just like you said. I was so excited for Omega that he came out, and I was like, "Holy shit, Callis is back!" and yeah, right when he gets on the mic with commentary, I mean, he clearly has a lot of strengths there. Super excited about that. I mean, my favorite thing going on right now, just to put a button on this, I mean, wrestling is hot. After Monday, you had all the clips of McIntyre and Owens flying around. I don't care if it was just about, him referring to wrestlers, wrestling ring, yada, yada. That's something that hasn't been done in WWE in a long time. Then after Wednesday, you had all the talk, Punk, the Elite, the Bull, everything like that from AEW coming out the next day. Triple H, Punk, all the videos coming out that Thursday. But then Friday, Montreal, Quebec, Sami Zayn steals the show. Bro. He got a 10-minute backstage segment with Roman. Well, not 10-minute, but it was 7 minutes for him being backstage with Roman.
That was one of the best WWE backstage segments I've seen in so long.
Dude, Roman's facials were selling it so hard. He's like, you're right, Jay isn't pulling his shit. I give Roman credit. Roman, now that they've fully unleashed him, it's a completely different Roman Reigns than from 2014, 2018, 2019. So It's very exciting. Yeah, Zayn was playing off him perfectly. The reaction he got for the match, all the false finishes for Zayn and everything. I just love where that's at. So that's my favorite storyline because I've been waiting to play off in it. But wrestling is just so hot. And the fact that we're talking about all these things the next day, great spot for these two companies to be in.
And the one subtle thing that they did in that segment too is all they had to do was to bring Kevin Owens into the fold is have Roman ask one question. He's literally like, how have you talked to Kevin Owens lately? And Sammy was like, I don't know, maybe not really, not that much. He's like, I don't like him. And now we have another thread that you can go down, which is clearly coming with this Sammy thing. But whatever is happening with the Sammy and the bloodline is going to come to fruition soon. And it's after a segment like that, how could you not be excited about whatever they're going to try to put together with the help of Heyman and everything else?
I like the idea of putting it on the back burner and doing a similar thing that he did with Jimmy and Jay, where he faces KO in a Hell in a Cell or something and just absolutely kills him to the point where Sammy could kind of turn on Roman and actually help out KO, but he doesn't because he's kind of broken and maybe leads to something bigger.
Yeah, a lot of possibilities there. All right, we're gonna get into our favorite stuff and what Triple H has been doing, but we got to talk about CM Punk, which is, you know what? All credit, whatever opinions that we're all going to have here, all credit to this man. He came back to TV for literally 1 week and then took back over the discourse in the wrestling world again, doing exactly what he always, I mean, this is regardless of what is true and what is not with this. So I guess lay a little bit of background. We all heard, if you watched AEW Dynamite Wednesday, you heard the very, very fiery promos. Didn't it sound like Mox was a little bit more juiced up too? That's what I could tell something was going on, because he was he's usually pretty calm and doesn't yell on the mic. He's good mic presence and everything. He was a little bit more excited, a little bit in there tense time throughout the show. I thought they did a great job building the segment, keeping it show long, having Mox take over. I don't know about you guys, but I literally said out loud to myself when Tony Nese started entering, like, oh my God, they're having Tony Nese on this show. Like after, like we just watched Danielson Garcia and Tony Nese is coming out. Like what the fuck is going on here? And then Mox comes out. I was like, oh, thank God. Like I texted my brother in that like 10 seconds because I was so appalled by that. But I thought it was hot. And then you hear the stuff coming out the next day because CM Punk mentions Hangman Page at the beginning, calls him a coward or coward shit instead of cowboy shit. I'm like, damn, like, what is that? Like, that's so random. Like, oh, maybe they're building to the match. Maybe that's another thread that was supposed to happen the last 2 months. Because we don't know what the story was going to be for the last 2 months, right? But we have to imagine if Punk started off with this kind of intensity right away, Slick, don't we think that it was going to be something that was probably similar to some blurred lines, work shoot shit that was going to come out anyways? Because if this is the rumors about the backstage drama and everything else, it's only coming out because some sources in AEW are telling Dave Meltzer and Sean Ross Sapp that. So they're letting us in on it to that point. So Slick, I want to start with you here as our resident CM Punk aficionado at this point in my life, at least, and to see what you thought and where you're going from here with this storyline and just any of the pieces, Page, Punk, Moxley, whatever else.
CM Punk said, hold up, wait a minute. Your career ain't shit unless you got some CM Punk in it. CM Punk, you got to keep in mind, his promos are the best when he goes off script, right? So hearing that was part of that, it didn't surprise me. Hearing that there might be some reality to this, sure, it surprises me. I think Hanger's a very likable guy, big locker room guy for sure. But I think I've said this to you, Jake. Work or not, I think CM Punk knows what he's doing in a way, and he lets the dirt sheets emphasize it to his advantage. CM Punk was saying, he even said on this show, he's like, I try to come out here with my tough guy look, and like, you guys just make me smile so fast. I don't think it's too long before we get like a bad guy CM Punk again, and he's using this upper hand to try and get the fans a little bit turning on him, maybe a 50-50. Like, obviously, it was pretty 50-50, the Hanger Punk match anyway, but they were both baby faces, let's be quite honest. And not much Punk can do ever since he came back to AEW is going to get these fans to turn on him. But calling out Hangman and calling him a coward, it's a pretty good way to start. And I just got to say, with these sources telling Dave Meltzer all this shit, it's not the first time we've had like people backstage play along with the kayfabe and feed that to Dave Meltzer so that he tells everyone and everyone starts getting worked. Like the MJF stuff right now, like it seems like everyone backstage has been told, if they bring up Maxwell Jacob Friedman, don't say a fucking word.
But how convenient is it that this week is the week that Meltzer had the thing that, oh, MJF might be coming back soon, though. Like, we haven't heard anything.
Right.
And then he's like, oh.
Right. It's like, it's almost like they were told, like, oh, like, let's get some other stuff fueling, some distractions going, get the heat on Punk, get Hanger back into the equation. What's going to happen with Mox? And then, bam, MJF out of the cut. That would be amazing. I'll believe it when I see it. Obviously, I think wrestling as a whole is better with MJF involved and at his best work. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we get that trilogy with Punk, obviously.
That's true.
Does it happen for the title? I think so. I've always thought so. That's like your Cena Punk moment in AEW. And, but it's interesting because Tony Khan's got to have something up his sleeve, because right now this week match next week with Punk Mox on Dynamite, they just fired that right in there. What the hell is going to happen there? I couldn't tell you. Do I still feel like they do Punk versus Mox in some form at All Out? Yeah, whether it's involving Hangman, MJF as well, I don't know, but it'll be very interesting to see how these next 2 weeks play out going into All Out. But I'm not, as a whole, I'm not buying in completely to all the CM Punk backstage beef. You know, partially that Instagram post I sent to our group chat last night of his caption, like the caption was funny, but in a way he was kind of like addressing what was going on. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, like my love for wrestling's still been reignited. Like this is the best decision I've ever made to come back to this company. So in a way he's saying like, yo, like there might be frustrations backstage, but like I'm good. Like I ain't leaving.
Yeah.
Like that's some bullshit. Well, yeah.
Till the wheels fall off. Yeah, he's been
Till the
consistent
wheels
about
fall.
that.
Yes, exactly. And like, you know, CM Punk's a big CM Punk guy himself.
He is a mark for himself. CM Punk is definitely a mark for himself.
Is he gonna get along like very well all the time with backstage talent? Absolutely not. And if something that Hanger said pissed him off because Hanger was trying to cut a good promo, I wouldn't be surprised. But that's just what you got to do against the best in the world on the mic. So you got to fight fire with fire when you're cutting promos with CM Punk. So I'm not buying into all this completely, but I think it makes for great wrestling. And I think AEW has literally brought back kayfabe into the fans getting worked. Whether this is a work completely, I think there's some reality to it. But we're definitely getting.
We don't know. It's beyond it at this point for us. Now that we have any information, we won't know where the line is anymore.
Right, and it's not even like if we were getting work completely, but the fact that AEW brings back this element to the fan base where it's like, oh, is this real? Is it not? Like, you know, like WWE 5 years ago, you'd never be asking that question. You'd be like, oh, this is that's total bullshit. Like, I don't believe anything that's going on. But we're all wondering. We're on this show talking about it, so makes for great wrestling content. And like I said, I'm really excited to see how these next 2 weeks play out.
Ernie Green with the late run-in. Ernie, good morning, sir. Maniac, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is going to happen with this match? Why, like, match up to next week? Like, what was your first impression when you saw that was going to be happening?
I like it. It's a swerve. At worst case, I mean, it's a way for Mox and Punk to get some ring work in and get, you know, those reps in. As crazy as that sounds, something that WWE typically takes care of at house shows. But with that said, yeah, I'm loving this whole angle. I mean, I think there's definitely a degree of truth to everything going on. I think there's a little bit of a diva attitude, insecurity thing from Punk going on, if you know anything from his future. I think Mox is pretty pissed about it. I think Paige is just doing his thing in the backstage area, catering with, you know. So I think it's all playing it. And I think the thing that surprised me the most, because you hear a lot of rumors about Punk, but the one that Mox flung at him, and Punk even kind of like talked about himself, was that he needed some money. When Mox called Punk out about not wanting to be here, the first thing that Punk said wasn't, I love wrestling. It wasn't, I love the fans and I miss them. It was the money, the payday. Yeah. And that even got cited by Punk himself. So that was very, very telling to me, whether they're trying to work that into the storyline or not. But that's something they definitely want to focus on. And that was the biggest thing of the whole, you know, AEW, whether you're talking about the Omega situation and playing up the injuries, everything. They are really multiplying the degrees of this storytelling. And again, in the Punk, Mox, Hangman area right now, it's awesome to see.
Well, the one thing, I mean, this is going to be a theme I was going to bring up later too, but you just mentioning the levels of the storytelling and everything else, is AEW since its inception has never had to deal with a hot WWE really, like at all. They dealt with a falling WWE and a product that everybody was turning on as it was going on, and everybody wanted the alternative everything. Like, this is the first time where there's been genuine interest, and we've seen Tony's back. Like, Tony Khan said it. This is not even speculating. He said it out in the media. He's like, I'm much more interested in their product with the new guy at the helm. Like, he won't ever say their names, obviously, but he's like, I watch it every week and their product's better, so I have to be better. Like, he sees that shit. So
at the end of Succession 2, Brian Cox's character watches his son finally turn on him after being a patsy for the whole season. Finally turns on him. And he doesn't get angry. He doesn't get frustrated. He just gets a little wry smile. And I think that's what Tony Khan has seeing the competition from WWE recently.
Yeah. What is your best case scenario out of this, Troy? What do you hope happens the most for this week at Dynamite, but also heading into their biggest pay-per-view? Because, bro, like this is like we don't know anything on this pay-per-view yet. We're 2 weeks out still.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to unpack everything you guys said because that was a lot right there. So I'm like all scatterbrained. So I feel like there's just a few points. You know, one, before we went on, we were talking about Hangman not necessarily liking these quote-unquote old champions. I got to be honest, I don't blame the guy, you know, because I stand by this, and I'll always say this. I like Tony Khan, don't get me wrong, but I think he's just a huge effing mark with money. Okay? That's my biggest thing about Tony Khan because
MJF's point exactly.
Right.
Someone said he's the cool boss, and sometimes the cool boss, like at a point you're like, oh man, like what are we doing here?
He's trying to please everybody, and you got to wonder if sometimes he's making, I don't want to call them false promises, but is he telling guys like, yeah, you'll get a push, or we're going to do this with you, we're going to do that with you, and then it just doesn't end up coming to fruition, or, you know, the guys are just, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth and they're already done with him by the time it gets around to actually getting this push or opportunity. But I don't blame Hangman because I talk about this all the time, how I think Khan has to be careful that he doesn't turn into WCW. That's exactly what WCW did. All these ex-WWF guys who wanted more money or the contracts were expiring, you know, Bischoff signed them all. And I feel like that's kind of what Khan's doing. It's becoming very crowded at the top. And I mean, I'm not going to try to go off on too much of a tangent because I feel like that's a whole other question, you know, a whole other thing we could talk about in terms of Ricky Starks, Darby Allin, guys like that. But, you know, Hangman Page, listen, love the guy, love his work. Not really a memorable title run, so I think it was time for somebody to take it off of him. Yeah. And obviously, I think Punk made the most sense at that point. And not to dwell on the 90s, but I think I saw a tweet that I think makes a very good point in terms of the backstage heat portion of this discussion and the controversy and guys not liking each other, whatever. They did this shit in the 90s. The 90s was the same way. Not everybody was getting along. It wasn't all rainbows and roses.
No.
In both companies. These guys were competing with each other to try to get that top spot. Like, obviously, there was a lot of mutual respect, but it wasn't like guys were, you know, going out to the bar with each other. You know, you didn't see Rock and Austin probably weren't going to the bar, having a with each other, you know? So I think it probably is a work. There's probably some validity to it, right? There probably is. But who cares? That's what makes good product. You know, you need that controversy. Controversy creates cash. I think Bischoff said that. Like, that's the name of his freaking book or something.
Yeah.
So to me, it just makes sense. I'm all for it because you know what? If there is backstage heat and there is controversy, guess what? That's creating these great promos and these great segments like we've seen this past week. You know, with Punk name drop and Hangman. Great. I don't care. Do it. I hope Hangman comes out next week and, you know, he has a rebuttal for him or something. You know what I mean? But
that would be a good shirt.
You know, but Punk, you know, I think I'd like to see the MJF thing too. You know, I think it only makes sense. But I think my other point as I try to regain my thought process here after going crazy is, like you said, AEW. They've never had a competitive WWE. So in my opinion, Tony Khan had the ball and he should have been running with it. And he should have had great numbers and all that. Now I feel like he's probably shitting himself a little bit now that H is at the helm. And now he has to step his game up. You know, I feel like he almost got lazy or almost complacent where he's like, oh, well, I don't really have competition right now necessarily. You know, WWE is its own entity and it's in its own, you know, class. But Khan was probably just like, oh, well, I'll win Wednesday nights. I'll have the viewership there and merch and tickets and that. Well, now I hope he's scared, and I hope this creates a better product. I hope he actually tries and gives people the spot that they deserve. And I think H is really good at making new stars or taking guys from the indies and really letting them hone in on their craft and making them a big deal.
Yeah, and look who the spotlight he's given so far too for
Ciampa.
Triple H. Yeah.
Ciampa already, we saw him, a couple other guys. So I think Khan's really got to step his game up. But there's a nice base right here right now with the whole intrigue around the Moxley, Punk, and Hangman. He's got a base. We just got to see if he can build on it and he doesn't drop the ball, the proverbial ball that we were just talking about that he had. So it'll be interesting going into All Out. I was interested on the Rush in the title match being next week.
Yeah.
Are we really? But that's my thing. Are we going to run into something where are we really going to get that again at All Out? I really hope not.
But the one thing I'm worried about with them doing it up, if there is some actual drama going on, like there's in my mind, if there is tension, whatever, there's three people or three groups of people, I guess, but three people who probably have the most pull in Tony Khan's ear if it's wrestlers directly reaching out to him. It's CM Punk, it's some combination of Moxley, Danielson, and it's the Elite. Like those, and these are the three people that are now involved all in this storyline or whatever it is, and they're all probably people that have the most influence over their own storylines and have the most of his ear. So I'm sure everything you said there about him, like, not maybe not lying to people, but false promises or just spreading himself too thin.
None of them are full Hogans, but they are all half Hogans.
Yes. The Bucks' favorite wrestler of all time is Hulk Hogan. Like we always have to remember like they love this NWO shit more than people realize. And the Bucks tried to get Hogan to tag with them in a trios match at Wrestle Kingdom, but they said he was too expensive. But imagine that alternate universe would have been.
Did you guys say this week? You guys said Hogan always goes over.
So who's the Hogan here? Is it because if you say Punk is your guy, then you have to deal, as Triple H said where it wasn't Triple H, but it was an anonymous WWE source, and it was like, let him be their headache now. That's a Triple H comment, 100%. And you have to deal with the good and the bad. And this has been good. It's good we're talking about this discourse, but there's been a lot of people that are like, I don't want to do this shit again with this guy too.
Right.
So who are they picking as it is? Because it was Kenny. Then I think Hangman too, and Mike, I want you to touch on this. I think with the Hangman, like his title run and everything, we remember it as whatever. Like people are like, oh, it was kind of disappointing and everything else, but it also is just the worst timing in the world because it was also he had to help make Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole in the company while also being champion. Like that's a hard twofold to pull. And I mean, Danielson does not that Danielson need to be made. But we don't remember, we remember that hour-long match with Paige because it was with Danielson, not because it was a Paige title match. You know what I mean? Like, he got overshadowed by all the newness and then was still involved with all that newness. So do you think this is a chance to get him back up to the prominence that they were at a year ago? Like, do you think that there's a chance he gets thrown into this? Or maybe he was always supposed to be a part of it?
Honestly, I don't know what to think. I'm supposed to come on here and have insight for you guys. I'm supposed to have answers. I'm supposed to have a sense of history. I don't know what to think. I mean, let's go back to what is starting all this reportedly, supposedly, the Punk Colt tension. And the only thing we've heard so far, as far as a report, was Punk and Colt were amicable. They weren't, they don't get along anymore, but they were keeping their distance from each other more or less. And then the reports come out, okay, Tony was possibly thinking about cutting Colt, but a lot of people went to bat for him, and now he's been designated for this new ROH property that they have, which has yet to really get going. We've seen Colt Cabana in like a pre-pay-per-view match for Ring of Honor shows. And then supposedly Hangman sort of alluded to that sort of tension in one of his promos, and then, of course, told Punk to his face, I'm defending all elite wrestling from you, not just the title. And was that something that sort of rubbed Punk the wrong way and what he was demanding an apology for, so to speak, when he went out there and supposedly went into business for himself. And I don't. I think it's too idealistic for us to sit here and say, well, all these reports about backstage drama coming out, they just have to be part of the big story. And Tony's probably just this wrestling historian who's going into the Vince Russo well of worked shoots and just trying to create a new kayfabe. Or maybe the drama is actually real because Meltz and both SRS have double confirmed it, and they don't go out of their way to report something unless it's like real and not just kayfabe.
That's
what they want us to believe.
That's the thing. Dave wouldn't just be, unless if Dave Meltzer didn't believe that something was going on, he really wouldn't put it. That's the one thing is like you can believe you. It's one thing to believe the sources of Dave Meltzer and everything else, but Dave Meltzer isn't just writing stuff as like shock and awe. Like he's putting it in there because he thinks there's some credence to it. That's how he's
and I think
charging
even more so
$14
for
a month.
Sean Ross Sapp, because I think he's just a little level above credibility for Meltzer, because a lot of people, some present company included, might have soured on Meltzer, and I can see at times why that might be.
The Observer is $14. What is it, $13 a month? That man, like I can't even like I've looked it up. It's just crazy to me that like he has built that kind of thing off of that, and that's why like it's just not. That's a quick aside. Though.
Sean's still only charging like $5 for the basic info, but that aside, obviously a little backstage tension is fine as long as you can do business with it and everybody's professional and everybody has a sense of what you're going to say before you go out there. I mean, let's go back to 97. Let's go back to HBK and Bret Hart. Let's go back to HBK implying with the phrase Bret is having some sunny days, implying that he's having an affair with freaking Sunny while he's a married man. And Bret didn't take too kindly to that legitimately. But of course, you fast forward to Montreal, by the way, that's the reason why Montreal is such a crazy crowd. They've been a mark crowd ever since the curtain got pulled back on them right in front of their faces in 97. And they've just been, very hip to a lot of things and very intense about their vocalizing what they like and what they don't like. But anyway,
daddy Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the Dark Side of the Ring where Bret detailed how he's going to WCW. He wants to drop the belt, and it's going to be to Shawn. And he tries to go to Shawn and say, "Okay, let's just work through this, and I just want you to know that I'm going to take care of you, and we're going to try and have a good, safe match." And HBK, of course, just snarks at him this, "Well, thanks a lot, but I'm not going to do the same for you." And that's the point where Bret just sort of in his mind snapped and said, "You know what? I'm not playing ball with these guys. I'm not going to drop the title to this SOB in my home country. I'm just going to come out and have a DQ finish and the next night hand the championship off." And obviously Vince didn't want to let him do that. He was more afraid of Bischoff than he was of Bret. But regardless, he wanted that title off of him by the end of Survivor Series. And then we saw it all play out. And I think that's might have been something that set Punk off in the same sense. And, of course, we haven't heard from him because of the long injury recovery. And he's just been having that in his back pocket, wanting to throw it back in Hangman's face and do it on live television and do it unscripted. Is it like I said, I don't think they're going to go out of their way. I don't think even Tony, the biggest mark out of us all, is going to go out of his way to try and feed the dirt sheets, what we want to hear or things that he wants us to think and believe about backstage drama, just to hype up things that are going on television, because we're hearing there really isn't a program for Hangman at All Out, much less being involved in the title picture. And it seemed the reports are that the Punk and Mox match this coming week is more or less a hot shot. It's not what was planned out from the beginning, and it's still penciled in for All Out. So what are we to think? Are we to think that MJF is going to come back for this show? Is MJF going to come back for All Out? I've heard people speculate, Punk is still a little bit hurt and they can't do a full-on match at All Out. Well, that doesn't make sense to me, because then why the heck would they do a match 2 weeks earlier?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and
I think you're having a little tough time, Partham. I think you're 93% of the way there, and I can see it on your face. You're having a tough time because you're such a Punk mark.
Yeah.
He's the biggest problem in all of this. He's liable on his notice to decide that he's going to take his bag and go.
Slick's the Punk mark? Who's the Punk mark now?
That's true. That's true.
I'm the Punk mark around
this
parts.
Who's the biggest Punk mark on this panel?
The middle column is just Punk.
And that's why I'm having a little bit of a tough time with this, because, for all the ways that Punk can rub people the wrong way, it's because he gives a damn. That was a shoot when he was in the ring with Vince doing the little contract negotiation segment all the way back then. Vince's problem is he doesn't give a damn, and Punk's problem is he gives a damn too much.
Yeah.
And he comes back and he says, I'm doing this I'm doing it for me, and I'm here for you, but I'm also here for the locker room. He laid out all the reasons that he's here, and he's not hiding from the fact that, yeah, he's back for him too. But he said in interviews, everybody's anticipating, when's Punk going to turn heel? When's Punk going to turn heel? Because Punk's such a great heel. Punk says, well, I'm going to try being a good guy for once and trying to, has such a connection with the fans, and he doesn't want to lose that. So why would he go out of his way to, rub people the wrong way and rub the fans the wrong way and rub Hangman the wrong way? I don't want to believe he's in any way a Hogan who's basically saying, I'm not losing to that guy. I'm not doing business with that guy, brother. That don't work for me and all that stuff. I don't want to believe that Triple H was right all those years ago. And I think Punk was equally right about Triple H because we all know the Reign of Terror and all that stuff. We don't need to go into that.
Yeah. He's been positioned himself, though, mostly again, besides the MJF feud, which got people like understanding MJF a little bit more, humanizing him in a way that no one else did in any other kind of feuds. He's been against all the biggest baby faces in the company so far. I mean, really, like when you go to an Eddie Kingston, obviously, Moxley right now, Darby Allin to start off with. So has he just kind of been, like he could in storyline, there's a lot of arguments to be made that he's been the heel in all these things, but no one's going to boo him. So it doesn't it's the crowd reaction doesn't give it off. But it's not like he's minced. This week was the most egregious of it, obviously. Like this is the most aggressive it's been, but he hasn't minced words a lot of times with any of these guys. I don't know. It's just the one thing I do think about Punk in general going into this right now is that he was going to do whatever storyline he wanted to do and try to get back up to that pace. Like he knew that he had some momentum and was probably I would love to have known what they had planned for the last 2 months to build up to this kind of intensity. And I really think that they knew it was his first week. They had a couple weeks to All Out and they needed some urgency. And he was just like, fuck it, I'm going to do something to get some urgency going, get some shit back behind me, because everybody was like, just the momentum had stalled just a little bit naturally just from that. The one thing though, that's interesting, if you want to look storyline wise, and if he is just doing his own little thing here, they're in Cleveland next week, which is the city that he didn't show up to. It was didn't come to that. Ernie, do you think that what if this title match just doesn't happen and he's hitting his marks here and doesn't show up to Cleveland again? I wouldn't blame him. I mean, not showing up to Cleveland, but
they've already been in Cleveland, and he's already made reference to it. Says I owed Cleveland one, so he called out MJF at the time.
So I would never go to Cleveland unless I was being paid. Second off, for
heel turn for Ernie Green.
I can care less if people in Cleveland like me. They can, I mean, first off, okay, just in case I haven't been clear enough here, every single Cleveland Browns fan can go fuck themselves for supporting their rapists. Okay,
every Cleveland Browns fan that's still won. Okay.
Yes, exactly. They can all screw themselves. In case you're wondering how I really felt about things, for accuracy's sake, Punk did show up to Cleveland in WWE in 2014. He just walked out and left.
Yes.
He had a meeting with Vince and Triple H. He talked about that in the Colt Cabana podcast.
Yeah.
CM Punk, one thing about CM Punk is everything that he does is going to end badly. So the AEW blowing up and him walking out was just a matter of when, not if. I'm not saying he's close to that, but that's how it's going to end. It's not going to end amicably.
It's true.
That is not how CM Punk operates. The dude, like Hartman said, he does care too much sometimes, and that causes a lot of friction, and that it causes him to get emotional, and at some point he's going to walk out. I hope that this match on Wednesday is a one-on-one match where there's a winner and sets up All Out, and not a schmaz. They set up some stupid gimmick match for the sole purpose that John Moxley can bleed for absolutely no reason, like he has the past 10 times he's wrestled, because I think that's gotten redundant and stupid. Hangman Page, one thing about Tony Khan talked about early on when Moxley won the belt the first time that, I have the first 5 or 6 champions already picked out. And Hangman Page was absolutely in that mix. And that was before they knew they were going to sign CM Punk. So I can see why Hangman Page could have some bitterness at Punk, at Tony Khan and whatnot, because it probably undercut the run that he was told he was going to get when he started. Because in 2019, like the very first pay-per-view, they did every single thing they could to make Hangman Page look like the future of the company.
Yeah.
He won
I mean, he had the first
ahead.
title match. He had the first title match.
They did everything. They did everything they could to make him look good, and now, I mean, he's kind of an afterthought. And because they have Moxley, because they have, they brought in so many WWE guys, which, by the way, Tony Khan said he wasn't going to do. So I could see why there is a lot of bitterness if Hangman Page has bitterness, but it is drama and backstage with CM Punk. That's like saying the sun's coming out tomorrow. I mean, he's always. I mean, that's just going to be. It's just going to be like like a god apple pie and CM Punk being pissed off about something. I mean, that guy's pissed off even when things. I mean, he's one of those guys, in my opinion, where like he's not happy unless he's unhappy. Well, he's got to be pissed off at something.
Let's remember, we know him being pissed off from WWE, and how many people since Punk left have come out of WWE being pissed off, bitter, or resentful, and the reports are they're difficult to work with, when in reality, Vince is just throwing bullshit at him, and they're just not having it.
But he's just that person. He's just a guy. People have talked about Punk in Independence where he's ornery, and like he would slap a promoter the first time he met him to see what he'd do. I like CM Punk. He's one of my top probably 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. He's a strange cat, though. I mean, let's be 100% honest. But in terms of, I mean, I think this has all been built up, honestly, because there's not much else going on. To be honest with you, why are we not talking about All Out instead of talking about this? There's no freaking matches. We don't even know.
There's no plan for All Out.
Exactly.
There's no plan yet.
The reason why we're talking about this is because we can't talk about All Out. What's there to talk about? So I mean, it's just backstage politics and wrestling. And people pissed off at the promoter. I mean, that goes back probably to George Hackenschmidt and Lou Thesz and all those, all those random wrestlers I could name from the 30s and 40s. So it is what it is. We just have access to it now, and it gives us something to do while there's not much really going on in professional wrestling.
Now that you say it out loud, is AEW low-key taking a page out of WWE's book for this all-out promotion? I mean, it is a couple weeks before,
and that's the title match thing. If they do some stupid thing where it's Moxley's gonna win this and then Punk wins in Chicago or vice versa, no matter how it is, that's the most WWE thing they could possibly do, is have two stars that they don't want to lose, so they just trade the titles and nothing happens. They've never done that before, though. Like Tony Khan has made a point to avoid those things. So that's why I'm scared. I'm very scared about Wednesday.
They've done that recently with the TNT title, but only because Cody leaving basically threw all their plans out the window.
Cody threw a bomb in there that and
they basically redid the whole thing with Sammy and Scorpio Sky. And then once that was over, Scorpio's injured, so we got to get the title off him, and now it's firmly on Wardlow, and hopefully he can carry it well.
The most WWE thing they could do Wednesday would have someone come in and make a DQ happen.
That's the rumor going around. And this is the first that we heard the report. That's the first we've heard of anything out of MJF, even from his supposed good buddy Sean Ross Sapp for this whole summer. It's been dead radio silence. Not the news is that there's no news.
When that match shows up on the show will be the most telling thing about it. If it's the first match of the night, then I think something. I think something's
going down.
Or at the end, how much time do they give it?
Yeah, because at the end, like if it starts with like 17 minutes left in the show or something like that, doesn't feel like they're gonna do a world title match with an actual finish between those two. Like if those two are actually having a match, they need like 20 something minutes. They're just the way that they've told these wrestlers stories since they've shown up.
They do it as the first match, and then Omega comes out and he's like, I never got my rematch. They do that as the main event. And then at the end of that, by God, it's the Fiend.
Yo.
Still holding out hope on that one, huh? Still holding out hope on that one.
Yo.
Tune into TNT on Wednesday.
No, wait. It's in Cleveland. If anybody's going to make the surprise debut, it's Johnny Gargano, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to keep saying that until I'm right one time and he actually walks out. Every time each promotion is in Cleveland, I go, we're going to see Johnny Gargano tonight. And then there's going to be one time he comes out, I go, see, I told you.
There
That's
he
what
is.
I've been
That's
doing with
Spider-Man
Bray.
clip clapped.
It's literally what I've been doing with Wyndham since like he got released. Been like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the one.
Not to change the subject, but I think Gargano's going to come back in time to do a WrestleMania match with Ciampa. That's just my opinion.
Woo.
That'd be
That would be
smart.
fun. That would
That'd
be
be good
fire.
money.
That's money.
Wouldn't
Take
they
my
pair
money.
up first as
What's
a DIY? Wouldn't they pair up and like do a tag team run or when Ciampa breaks off from Miz?
Maybe. I just think
Ciampa loves
eventually-
the Miz though. Ciampa
I
he's been talking about how much he loves working with the Miz, respects him, all this other
sucks.
shit. Like, hey,
He's terrible.
Yeah, they could come back as DIY part, and that would be. I mean, I love DIY, so that'd be fantastic. But I think eventually they're going to have a WrestleMania match against each other.
It is weird to see Ciampa with Miz, even though he is saying all the right things and the characters
throws
like
me
doing the
off.
right things. It's like two puzzle pieces that don't fit, no matter what.
Yeah, Ciampa's
So-
such a wrestler's wrestler, and then you
Yeah.
get guys like Miz, reality star turned wrestler, and just. But I mean, it's one of those things. Probably the age-old opposites attract. So you know what I
It
mean.
is.
Like, it doesn't make
Like
sense.
during the Miz Bryan talking smack segment, Ciampa would have been curb stomping Miz.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Would not have went
Speaking
that
of
high.
returns, if we can segue, I believe, to what is our next topic, Jake. A certain cleaner has entered the building again.
he's back. Mike? What was your favorite part? Was it Don Callis? Were you just thrilled to see Donnie there, or was it Nakazawa? You know,
It was
what's fun-
Justin Roberts doing the opening. I
the
did not.
opening,
I should have
yeah.
seen that coming. I thought, how are they going to? What's the sequence? Are they going to turn out the lights? Is the music just going to hit? Are they going to have a new prelude in there? They brought back one of the old ones, but it was just, oh, here, Justin, here's your notes, and he just runs through it like Excalibur, previewing Dynamite and Rampage. It was just so perfect. I mean, everybody knew it was coming. You didn't have to try to surprise the fans with like a shock pop or whatever. So you just play right into it.
Yeah, I like that it was in the main event. Everything else like that. I do think it is funny though. Like that's why I think it's striking seeing Kenny come out because he's one of the biggest stars in this company. But right now we have like Moxley and Danielson, Blackpool Combat Club coming out together, and they're looking like tough, whatever. And you've got just all these different groups of wrestlers that come out together that just look as a completely different look than Kenny walking out, and he's got Nakazawa with his headset on and Don Callis next to it. It's like he's straight. It's a little different energy there, but it's like it's what you missed about Kenny because it's Kenny, and Kenny's gonna do shit that's completely different from everybody else every chance he gets.
How long does Don Callis stay with Kenny now that supposedly the Bucks are cool with Hangman and Kenny's supposedly going to be more of the babyface type? How long does Don Callis stay by his side? Is there going to be a build to resentfulness?
From what we've heard from Kenny so far, though, he's going more into his heel. He's going to be pissed at the fans now and be more angry.
He's
than
getting in his bag.
So he might be getting there. I've honestly thought this. If Hangman's going to be, if there's any storyline thread that they're trying to tell with all this CM Punk stuff and everything, it's that Hangman is going to be the one that turns and goes to the Bucks and Kenny being more evil to try to win the title again.
Thank you, Jake.
And just doing what Kenny did.
So wait, does that mean the Elite are the heels now, or are the Undisputed guys the heels? Because they turned on the Bucks.
Yeah, but the thing is that it doesn't matter. Like, you can put them as heels. People are going to cheer in AEW no matter what. So they just let the guys do. Like, I don't think that they have positioning as much as letting the guys present themselves and then going from there. You can have you could have a heel versus heel, Elite versus Undisputed era, and people are going to still be chanting Adam Cole, Bebe, and the Elite the whole time, no matter what.
Right.
It's still going to be hot. And Kenny could be, trying to cheat the whole time and everything else. Like, I think that it's just a different way that they present it or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know what else happens with the Hangman thing unless they're splitting away from Kenny in a way, and I don't think that's going to happen either.
I don't think Hangman turns heel. It's not in his nature. It's not in the character that they presented so far.
Oh, they have
Not the one they presented so far, but before he came to AEW, he was literally had a noose coming out to the ring, was trying to kill people. So there is a side to it that we could get to. What do you say, Maniac?
He killed Joey Ryan one time.
He did kill Joey Ryan.
He did murder somebody.
He did
forgot
murder
about that. He did murder a guy. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that's what makes it so exciting. There's so many permutations with what can happen with the Elite characters. So very, very pumped.
How about JR when Kenny was walking out saying, well, the only bad thing Don Callis is with him.
Yeah, JR did not care for Don Callis.
No,
Yeah. Fucking hilarious.
it is great. And that's the thing with them too, is like, we're talking about Punk waiting 2 months for their storyline. These dudes have basically been on hold for 9 months waiting for Kenny to come back to do whatever they wanted to do after Full Gear. If Kenny was healthy after Full Gear, we would have already had this resolution with whatever was going to happen with him and Hangman and everything else. But they knew Kenny needed to, I mean, dude was just a walking injury list for a while. And they knew he needed to do that. So I'm sure that there's stuff that they've been chomping at the bit to try to get to storytelling wise too.
Well, in a way, it helps. In a way, it helps the story because Adam Cole's sort of been slow building, bringing his guys into the fold and becoming sort of the takeover of the Undisputed. He's making shirts branding them the Undisputed Elite, and that, like I said before, that has to build a little resentment in Kenny as he's just sitting back there trying to wait to get back and get involved in it all over again.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts on Kenny or anything? Ernie, Troy?
I'm surprised that Tony Khan didn't go into his deep bag of tricks and just turn the lights off, and then Kenny Omega just appeared in the ring.
That's what I thought might have happened.
Thinking too.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it didn't happen that way. Obviously, glad to see him back. This has been one of the storylines that I've been looking forward to this whole time. I mean, the build between him and Hangman leading up to Hangman's eventual title win, fantastic stuff. One of the most interesting storylines in wrestling at that point. So yeah, now I feel like you got so much to play with here that you can kind of just plug and play. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Kenny as a babyface. I mean, I personally, I know what you guys are saying, like, how would you do it? But I feel like Hangman as a face is kind of getting a little stale. We've seen it, the cowboy shit. We know it's great. We love it. But, maybe a little turn on the Dark Order, something like that. I just feel like it could revitalize him a little bit. And, there's just so much potential within that Undisputed Elite Hangman stuff that, obviously something to very much keep an eye on. And we'll have to see as it gets to All Out and even after.
That's certainly a way we can go with Hangman with if we believe that his babyface is going a little stale. But AEW doesn't do anything, just hot shot. Well, except maybe this title match, hot shot out of nowhere. They build to heel turns, not just over weeks, but maybe even months. So you got to put an impetus in there for Hangman to resent the guys that he is now sticking by, even though the Bucks are saying, do you want to be our partner? And he's saying, yeah, I'd love to stick by you, but these guys stuck by me the whole way, and I got to be in their corner. So that shows you how loyal Hangman is, even though he's probably deep down been wanting to reconnect with the Bucks. And the Dark Order is saying, winning the title didn't make you happy. So deep down, that's sort of implying that you need to resolve things with the Bucks to make you happy. But even with that, he's still sticking with the Dark Order. So if you're going to tell that kind of story where Hangman, goes a different way, you got to have a reason for him to turn on, the friends that stuck by him this whole time.
Bring in Wyndham Rotunda.
Or have the Dark Order turn on him. I don't know.
Real quick, before we get away from AEW, shout out to my guy, JR. CM Punk and Mox are about to go at it, and they're like, could they go at it right here? And he just sarcastically goes, not with the millions of dollars at stake and the contracts these guys have to sign. You never hear anybody say that. It's always like, oh, is it about to happen here in Nashville, Tennessee? Like, it's like, no. Like,
yeah, we love a good senile announcer who just doesn't care what he says anymore. It barely makes sense.
Well, he's not wrong.
We do stand. We do stand that, Troy.
Well, I remember the contract signing, I think, between Bobby Roode and I think it was when he fought Finn Balor in NXT, where he actually said that. He's like, I'm not going to cause any problems. This is too big of a money fight. I forgot who he fought when he won the title for the first time, but they had like the contract signing. He's like, I'm not gonna start any trouble. I'm not gonna ruin the money. I'm not gonna ruin the money fight. I realized it, Nakamura. I forgot exactly who he fought when he won the title, but he did actually bring it up one time, which I thought was cool.
And then before that, Samoa Joe just literally walked out for a contract signing, signed it, and walked away.
Yeah, he did.
Where the hell is Samoa Joe?
He's in Baltimore waiting for a Ring of Honor TV deal.
Yeah, that's what's going on. They need that bad. That's why I didn't mind them moving it up the title match storyline wise, because if you're gonna have these dudes fight all night, you can't go 2 more weeks and be like, I hate the WWE thing where like they can't touch each other before the fight. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, what do you
Meanwhile,
mean?
you got CM Punk
What if-
and Mox finding an excuse to come out the ramp and beat each other's ass.
Well, Mox did us all a favor by getting rid of Tony Nese for that. I was not.
I
ready
was
for
telling
Tony
Maniac
Nese
the other day,
at that
Tony
moment.
Nese is like the jobber of the year at this point.
He really is, bro.
Tony kind of
mean-
implied that there was a debut that he was going to be facing, and that we were all going to regret Mox ruining it or something. I don't know how real that was, but
I don't.
Did he
believe
really?
anything coming
Oh,
out?
I
yeah,
didn't see
I
that.
think he tweeted something like that.
Yeah,
No.
that's also him and Smart Mark. So I'm kind of with Jake. I don't believe any of that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't believe anything from Mark Sterling. That
Oh,
he's-
before we move on from AEW, let's comment on a few things like the Danielson and Garcia 2 out of 3 falls match.
I don't
which
know
only
how
got-
it was rated lower than the first.
Exactly.
What
One.
did
I
it
don't
get rated?
understand.
4.25 stars.
Yeah, it's-
Meltzer gonna Meltzer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Meltzer's
that's
never
strange
really
to
come
me.
out and said what the rating system is based on, or what the, you get 1 star for the build and 1 star for the crowd, and I don't know how does it work. I don't know. Sometimes he breaks it, he goes 5 or 6 stars when Kenny has a match in Japan, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, don't get me started on breaking the star scale. I don't try to understand that man's mind. Have you seen his office? Like, don't try to get his
Okay.
mind. You ever see Meltzer's office? Anybody else here? It's literally like just
Like the-
papers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's got stacks and stacks of
All,
paper.
just
Yeah.
all over the place.
Pile
He's like
high.
psycho.
and he knows exactly where each and every document
Yeah,
lies
that's
in that room.
that's a man you can't trust with to be reliable on scales or any sort.
Have you actually met him? He's like half a person. He's like 5.
I did. I have a picture on my phone of my brother with Dave Meltzer. My brother is he's a big guy, and it's like he makes Dave look like the tiniest dude in the world. But he's jacked though. Dave's a beefy dude.
Wait, so he's like an older bodybuilder kind like Vince is?
Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
super.
but
he's probably.
yeah.
I don't know how tall he is, but he's not a tall guy at all.
There's no way he's over 5'5". I remember he walked
yeah.
past us at the
Yeah.
first ever ABW pay-per-view. My buddy goes, "Hey, there's Dave Meltzer." I'm like, "Where?" And I looked over him because he was like under. Yeah, I didn't even see him until I'm like, "Oh," I had to look down. Oh, there's Dave Meltzer, like at my freaking chest. Like,
I'll send you guys the picture of him next to my brother. It's really funny. It looks like they're like one is like standing in front of the frame, and one is like Meltzer's like in the back of the frame.
And
That's how
amazingly
small he is
enough,
compared to-
5'5", still taller than Jonathan Gresham.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
One more thing from Dynamite. How does everybody feel about the Acclaimed reuniting with Daddy Ass?
Thank God. Thank God.
I think-
Although
I don't think-
those
I don't know
despicable
if
children turning
I don't
after
know if
they
that was
win.
in the plans, but I think Anthony Bones and Billy Gunn had such chemistry with that, one line as they would come out that they said, no, we can't break this up and just, have it be broken up. We got to roll back with it. So just have the Suns turn on Billy and have Billy realign himself with the Acclaim so we can, do all the scissoring fun again.
I love it. I love
Did you
that.
hear when that happened to and Taz said to JR, he's like, never do that to me though, JR. He's like, oh my God, I would never.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm very
That was
pro
good.
the AEW announce team, Excalibur, JR, and Taz, obviously. I do think, or Tony Schiavone, I think they could have done a little bit better about not talking during that moment with how big of a buildup that's kind of had
Yeah.
under the surface and what a big moment that was building up to. I hate to say it, they should have given the scissoring a little bit more of a
Well,
silent
did you
moment.
see? They went back and did it the second time too.
They did. They doubled
went back
down and
did
they
it, so
got
I
more of a
wonder-
crowd pop where it was
More of a
like kinda
crowd pop.
genuine, yes.
And they moved Caster over to the TV, so he wasn't like not facing the TV side. So I think they thought that too. Like they're like, nah, we need to get something else going with you.
Yeah, that was because that was a fucking moment. Anyone who's
Th-
been watching AEW, that's a top 5 storyline.
This week we
I
get
brought
Billy
a
Gunn.
tear to my eye.
Billy Gunn versus Colton Gunn this week. Father versus son is on Dynamite.
This
I
is
cannot wait.
cultivating TV. This is
Yes.
cultivating
Yeah,
television.
actually.
Oh, dude,
That's an
I'm
actual
pumped.
match. That's gonna be great. What would you guys sign up for New Age Outlaws versus the Gun Club as a result of this? in any way?
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Get
Oh, yeah.
Road Dogg in there.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you gotta
I
you-
don't know.
For a one-time deal, like they bring in Redbeard every once in a while. Sure.
And then Tony Khan's just like, all right, Road Dogg, like I've been seeing what you've been saying online. Now get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Why can't we get the new
that just makes it
Acclaimed
awkward.
Outlaws?
There, hey,
Good point.
that's solid.
All right, I
It's
think
gonna
we've
be fun,
covered
though.
pretty much everything on AEW. I
Yeah.
think we should move on to what's going on with the E now?
The island
Yes.
of relevancy.
On the island, exactly. Let's get over there. Ernie, I'm going to start with you.
Entertainers.
The sports entertainers. No, they are wrestlers now. If you're talking to Drew McIntyre, he was very, very, very forceful about that. We
Overrated.
are wrestlers in a
promo.
wrestling ring. Let's have a wrestling match. Kevin Owens did not get enough credit for that promo battle. Everybody, Drew started yelling in the mic and everybody got excited about it. But Kevin Owens came out there and just did incredible work. Mentioned the fact he hasn't won in 5 years, wants a title. They're setting these guys up real, like the guys that they need to set up, making them look good. So Ernie, I'll start with you. Just what have you liked about WWE TV in the last couple weeks? As this is like Troy was talking about earlier, Triple H's first real build to his first pay-per-view that he has like creative control over. I would give a second too.
First off, that promo between Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre was absolutely fantastic. It was almost as if these guys can deliver good promos when they're not shackled by a bunch of stupid writers and an out of touch person running the company. I think it's going to take. I see the end, like light at the end of the tunnel with WWE. I think by WrestleMania, like the product is going to be absolutely incredible because they're moving in the right direction. It's going to take some time because they have a steep hill to climb. They pretty much got tossed into Triple H got tossed into a well, and now he's got to climb his way out. But every week, the thing about the shows now is like literally every single thing makes sense. Like everything is logical, everything is concise, everything means something. Like they're making sure that the lower tier titles. We can say belts now. The lower tier belts mean something. Like they're trying to put legitimacy on pretty much everything.
Maybe
I couldn't believe it when they said that the former WWE officials were going to sour on Gunther because that's pretty much the dumbest thing I ever heard. But then,
I couldn't, bro.
Go ahead.
No, keep going. I was just hurt.
They also said that Becky Lynch and AJ Lee weren't hot. So, that just shows the stupidity of this company. Hunter Hearst Helmsley running it. So things make sense now. Like a lot of stuff, it's gonna take time for them to really, really, really build to like a high quality product, but they're getting there, and you can tell they're gonna get there. And I just can't wait for the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania because SummerSlam on like a week's notice was much better. So I can't wait until they have the time to do the long-term storytelling and to kind of cross the T's and dot the I's that haven't been in story, like the whole match between Finn Balor and Roman Reigns that ended super weird and they never addressed it. Like stuff like that's just not going to happen anymore. Like, so everything makes sense, and I'm very, very encouraged at the direction they're going right now.
I'm sure you'll all agree that giving weight to the Intercontinental and U.S. titles, putting them in main event spots, and not just doing that, but putting matches before them to qualify to be in those matches to give it even more meaning, and those great video promos on the history of the U.S. and the IC titles. Just the small. It seems like such just basic little things. Not just have title matches, but show them why they're meaningful, and have more than one guy want to be in them. And now, oh my God, we're getting an Intercontinental title match at a goddamn pay-per-view for the first time since WrestleMania 37.
Yeah, it's
incredible. I remember, I think Chris Jericho commented on one time he wanted to do an Intercontinental title match years ago, and Vince basically told him off, saying nobody gives a F about the Intercontinental title. This is back in WrestleMania 28, I believe. So that's how long Vince has been resentful of his second-tier mid-card workhorse titles. So now they're going to finally actually mean something, and they better mean something because Lord knows that the island of relevancy doesn't come grace us with his presence all too often these days. So you got to have something to compete for on these shows. You got to have something main event these shows, and you got to have something seem like it's important if you don't have your a lot of storylines established right now. They're just starting to get going. They're just starting to get their traction. Other than that, turning Becky back to the man, even though she's not around right now, but she's still making appearances like WrestleMania parties and whatnot in character, is good to see. It's good to see that they're attempting to give some to put the women's tag titles on somebody new, but we all know what this is leading to, of course. And I think we've been over that in previous shows. But Sasha and Naomi are just going to show up and say, "Hey, we're
they're
real
going to
champs,
be in
bitch."
Cardiff. There's no doubt in my mind. That
but it's
those
going to
two
be
will
hard
in
for them
Cardiff.
to hide it because, I mean, international tickets are just not something you can really, they're not going to be able to just go on a private road trip and then just hang out in a corner for a little bit while until the show has already started. You know what I mean? But they'll do something with that. And Roman and Drew McIntyre. Does Drew... some people are saying this is the time to get the titles off of Roman, and some people are saying no, Drew's not quite there yet, or at least he's not been built up as that guy to take it off. For as long as Roman's had the Universal title, there's got to be a real build to something. I think, ideally, timeline-wise, you'd want Cody to be the guy, but they're also holding out hope that The Rock's going to come around, and of course, Roman doesn't need the titles.
Cody did throw it. Classic Daniel Garcia deleted tweet moment and threw an eye emoji at the Clash of the Castle and then deleted it right away. How many months? I mean, it's only been 2 months. That would be kind of ridiculous. But to just have, if Triple H wants to make his presence known at a big show and he can travel and even still, he's planning Royal Rumble or something like that. If that's the only thing I could think of. If Drew doesn't win now, then that's the only person that makes sense to wait for to win the title, unless they're giving it to Seth Rollins, which they've never finished that program from last year. Like they went away from it, did a DQ finish, and then we never heard from it ever again.
What about Karrion Kross being put into the mix? Is he going to be Roman's next challenger, or is he going to be Drew's first challenger?
His promo on Friday night. The first name he mentioned was Drew McIntyre. So it's Drew is who I think his real target is. It's not as much Roman.
But would he be Drew? Would Drew be his first target as a title holder or just as a regular feud?
I don't think Drew. If you're my opinion on the Drew Roman main event, at least, is that Roman's winning. I don't think that they do it in Cardiff. And I don't think it's going to be Drew. I don't think Drew is gonna get the first run. I don't think that's. I just don't see that being the plan with it ending this quickly. Like you said, like there hasn't been enough time to build up like a real quality story around why Roman, like the bloodline thing has to end with something directly with Roman, not just Drew being big tough guy at home that gets to win. Like I just don't see that with Triple H.
Is this totally for both belts though, Drew and Roman?
Yeah.
Every title match so far has been for both belts.
Okay, but that's the rumor that came out. Is there is still a rumor out there that USA wants a belt back, which would make a lot of sense. There was never any plan, I think, with the undisputed belts go really after they did it. I think they just wanted to do it to make the biggest WrestleMania match of all time and do whatever else they could say with that.
Right.
But I don't know how that works. Like we've never had that answer with Theory. Like they need to answer that question on TV. Does he win both belts with a Money in the Bank cash in? Like
I wonder if Paul Levesque is just motherfucking as he's walking in the back corridor that the Money in the Bank's on Theory right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an X Factor again.
Because it's almost like an Otis situation again, right? Like, okay, even if Theory wins, or should I say, better put, it's more like a Nikki ASH situation. It's like, cool, you're gonna win the title. Like the first challenger who comes along is absolutely gonna curb stomp you and win it right back.
I would lose. I think it would be absolutely hilarious if Theory came along and just failed on the cash in.
Troy, what are your thoughts on like WWE's in whole and the title picture going into Cardiff?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, shout out to my man Paul, because I've been saying this for years, and this is gonna sound terrible, but I have sat here for years and said, you know what, nothing's gonna get better until the old man dies. Which he didn't die, he just retired, and I think in the short term we're already kind of seeing how good it can be or has the potential to be when he's out of the picture, not making the decisions. And I think it's real poetic justice for Triple H, in my opinion. He builds up NXT to arguably be WWE's best brand to the hardcore fans, only to have it broken down into NXT 2.0, and then he gets the reins, no pun intended here, on the main roster, and he's starting to build it back up. I love the addition of the NXT people again. Obviously, I think Cross is very much going to benefit from Triple H being at the helm, and I think he's going to be a lot better because obviously he's not going to be presented.
What a whirlwind for that guy. He's had a whirlwind couple months, man.
Seriously. And I don't know if you guys happened to catch, but him and Scarlett recently did a interview where he said he was like on the verge of signing a contract with the bare knuckle fighting for like a few fights.
Wow.
So
who is this?
Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross.
Wow.
Yeah, Kross was apparently going to be signing a contract to do, I don't know, I think he said a few, 3, 4, whatever it was for the.
Wasn't it going to be with the NWA? Who's that guy with the Smashing Pumpkins?
Corgan?
Yeah, he was going to be Corgan's first champion, wasn't he? And Corgan basically said, look, if WWE's asking for you, go back to them.
Seriously. And I think, I mean, the way they had him debut, I thought that was great. Dexter Lumis, too. So we're seeing these characters that we loved in NXT who got, well, not Lumis, but, they got sent up to the main roster, and in classic Vince fashion, he just turned them into
jokes.
Yeah. So I thought the Lumis stuff is brilliant with him, being handcuffed. My roommate, Big Mark himself, he's like, I had no idea. He's like, it was the scariest thing that I thought this guy was actually getting arrested in the crowd, had no clue that it was Lumis until like the last second. So I think what you're seeing
Freddie Prinze.
there. Oh, Freddie Prinze, really?
He was going to be Freddie Prince's summer catch.
Oh, you're hurting feelings with that.
Yeah.
Comment.
Well, Scarlett, she's all that. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So yeah, no.
I quit.
Boom, boom, boom. Coming with the haymakers. So not to get too long-winded, but I'm very interested now. I'm very intrigued because I'll be honest with you.
Who's the hand in the background? We didn't really even there's so much shit going on in WWE six months ago. That would have been the discussion topic all week.
Oh, that's Lumis too. I sent you the picture that Lumis has had a glove like that.
Yeah.
But
somewhat
it's
similar
got
to the Fiend also
no
did.
Fiend potential.
No,
I don't think so. No, I think that's Lumis. That's all.
Listen, the report from Mike Johnson, PW Insider, was last week was that Bray Wyatt is more than likely to come back to WWE. Like that has been the standing ground for a couple months now.
I think
I'm not saying this instance, but I'm just saying in general, like it could be coming.
It's been a long time, dude.
I mean, with H being in charge now, I think you're going to see a lot of people who were probably teetering towards let me try let me try AEW and that. I think they might pump the brakes now that Triple H is
absolutely
in charge.
Yeah.
And
sure.
They'll consider going back. So I think he's going to do a lot of good things for a lot of people creatively. And like you guys said about the Intercontinental title, I mean, let's be honest. There are times where I think the Intercontinental title has produced better matches than a WWE title match. I mean, that's when you get the wrestlers. That's when you're going to get the guys who just know how to put on a great match. Maybe not great on the mic, but just really good wrestling. And H, obviously, he had a deep history with the Intercontinental title. He's a 2 or 3-time champion with that. So it's good to see that that's being brought back to prominence, and you don't have to lean on your big title because let's be honest too, you're going to see Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns for the umpteenth time. People want something different, man.
And on the Triple H whole NXT 2.0 thing, I think Kevin Nash pretty much confirmed a lot of conspiracy theorists, a lot of conspiracy theories about what really happened with NXT 2.0, and not just that Triple H fell out of health. It was Vince McMahon basically setting him up to fail against AEW and saying, "Okay, we're going to do it my way now."
I mean, as soon as they announced that, I think everybody correctly predicted that as soon as Vince put his Grammy paws on NXT, it was going to be bad.
Yeah.
And also I think there was a hit of jealousy about everybody because we talked about this in private chat that NXT pay-per-views, whatever you want to call them, were just amazing. I could name like 10 great matches off the top of my head from NXT takeovers since 2015, and I'm not sure I can name more than 2 or 3 great WWE matches in the same time. So those shows were bangers from start to finish, and it was just great professional wrestling. So I could see why there'd be a lot of jealousy there and to blow up something that was really, really good. So I'm not surprised when Kevin Nash said that.
Things that Triple H seems to be doing better. What about, we were talking about this also on the pre-show, what about Ronda Rousey's presentation now, just showing up out of nowhere and just causing havoc and getting arrested Stone Cold style?
It was great to see that, like another hot start to the show. Like we were saying earlier, like urgency to the show, trying to like do something different, all that stuff. And then it's awesome to see, like, we're talking about connectivity and everything else they're doing. As the police cars are getting taken away is when Roman is driving in, and you can get that like smooth transition. That whole opening scene was great, but Ronda specifically, yeah, like this is everything she needed again when she was coming back. Like she can't just come in like smiling to the ring and then just cut a promo. That's not was never her strength. It was never going to be her strength. Like doing the shit like this is built. That crowd was going nuts for Ronda Rousey. Like that was loud as I'm not even a Ronda, like I'm not a Ronda fan in the, like she's not one of my favorite women's wrestlers on the roster in the world, but that was a huge crowd reaction, and they're doing great stuff with her. And if it's leading up to Baszler Ronda the proper way that we were supposed to get, whatever's going to happen with that title match, I feel like that's the direction they're going. Though they have a chance to put on some crazy matches, letting go with the way that the style that Triple H is going to let them do. So it feels like a money program at the moment right now.
Agreed.
I couldn't agree more. Just to put a cap on it, I mean, I don't know what was going on with backstage with Ronda before, but it's exactly like you said. She would come out trying to look like a badass, and then she'd be like, you might as well call Liv Morgan NSYNC, because after I'm done with her, it's going to be bye, bye, bye. And then she would like look all angry at the camera, like, and it wouldn't make any sense.
She actually said that? Wait,
no. Like, but she would do like pun bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just
like the action, like the B action movie hero line.
You're on skis.
Do what?
Well,
Ronda's chaos in the ring. Have that extend to her personality. It all writes itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she needs to take a break from the mic for sure. I guess now she's in jail, so they won't have a mic in her hand anytime soon.
It is funny that we had
a promo there.
It's always a long time.
It is funny that we had Moxley hijack the show Wednesday, and then Triple H is like, you know what, I'm going to start this show with Friday. Someone hijacking the show right away.
Yep.
Like we don't get that. We haven't gotten that shit in wrestling in like a long time, and it happens on both programs in the same week. Yeah, that I mean, she's not good. That's for sure. She's not her strength. I would love to see her with somebody like. I've always wanted to see her with Paul Heyman. I don't know if that is.
First one comes to mind.
But take Nakamura, for example, right? Nakamura, if you were doing, real life Madden ratings or WWE ratings, if you want to use that, his mic is like 7. Like,
yeah, that's true. But he's just
non-existent.
He doesn't have to. He just has to like look there and.
Yeah, you just need the mannerisms and the persona.
He does more with fewer words.
Dude, all he needs is his theme song, because the crowd goes nuts when they hear his song. They all want to sing along. Mm-hmm. But they were literally singing it through all of New York City when he fought at the SummerSlam, when he fought, when he fought for the title. So it's like, dude, that's all he needs.
The song is fun to sing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't. It's great. Nothing better than singing a wrestling.
Everyone loves
theme song.
a sing-along song.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What else is going on? I mean, Sami Zayn, you guys know, as long as I've been on this podcast, that I've been just wanted Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn to be prospering, and now all of them are. Maniac's all hyped up about Sami Zayn. He had a great week Friday. KO's had a great week since he destroyed Ezekiel and maybe the whole family eventually. Like, what's the Elrod? We still haven't seen Elrod. What's his dad's name? Ernie, your brother in arms there, Ernie, Ezekiel, whatever. Yeah. I want to see him take out that whole family. Rollins looks, I mean, they're just presenting him in a different way. Like, I'm just very excited about what they're doing with the upper mid card, higher card acts now, because it's just been Roman for so long that we've always been talking about who's next and everything else. Slick, what's your favorite thing going on? We'll wrap up there.
I'm a fan of what's going on with Riddle and Rollins. Rollins has really grown on me this past year. I don't know what really goes into it there, but also with the Sami stuff, like you said, the backstage segment, that was so good. And I'm like sitting here thinking, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, am I starting to like Roman Reigns? Like,
whoa,
this segment is decent, dude. And tribal chiefs getting like baby face pops from the crowd. He's cussing out Theory, saying your daddy's not here anymore. Like, go ahead, give it to them, Roman. I love it. It's honestly great.
Roman somehow turned into like the biggest baby face in the company over like the last 3 months. Like it was like he was always getting the cheers because the crowd, like the kids cheers and everything else. But now I feel like it's everybody. Now I feel like he walks out and it's just everybody's just. And maybe that is the thing with him not being around as much anymore. Maybe he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, it's impressive. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think I'd see the day. But if they keep that up, that's great. It's great for the company, especially since he's already your face guy. He's already a mainstream name, which is also crazy to me. All these people like who aren't even involved in wrestling seem to know Roman Reigns somehow. But if they keep that up, the backstage segments are awesome. So some bloodline tension would be nice. But I think match-wise, when we get Riddle and Rollins, I think in Clash of the Castle, that's going to be a banger, man. It's going to be a banger for sure.
Isn't Sheamus going at it with Gunther there too? That's going to be
that's
I'm most looking forward to that match.
Can you imagine what those two are going to try to kill each other? They're going to try to kill each other in the ring.
Oh, and by the way to make Roman babyface, and I've said this for 2 years, have him face heel Hollywood piece of shit Rock at WrestleMania.
It's true.
But that's also like when you bring Punk back to wrestling. Like, can you really bring Rock back and turn him into
I don't think anybody's gonna boo Roman again. Like, it's just gonna be Roman.
That's true.
Like,
they're sure not gonna boo the Rock.
Roman. Like, they're just gonna
That's
cheer
what
for
I'm
everybody.
saying, Bartham.
No one's booing the Rock.
They said that in 2003, and he was the best heel probably ever. Everyone thought.
That's 20 years ago.
He could easily bring Hollywood Rock. I mean, he was doing Hollywood Rock when his movies fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Now he's a fucking movie star.
What if he just calls out? What if he just goes meta and just calls out marks and like shit like that? He's like, you guys are like ridiculous.
That would be the perfect way to do it.
Yeah,
he comes back.
Super meta.
Everybody will be cheering
bigger than
for
any
him.
of you. Yeah.
And he'll just be like, see, Roman, all these idiots, they don't even care about you. Like, I come back. You've been here for the last 10 years. I come back. They're cheering me louder than you. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works, isn't it?
You're just my little cousin.
Yeah.
Remember when I got you in Hobbs and Shaw? Yeah, I hooked you up, Oos.
All he has to do is come out and say, you know what?
Great.
All my successes in spite of the Samoan dynasty, like fuck Sika and fuck Yokozuna.
Yeah.
I branched away.
Out, Ernie, you've had this scripted for about 9 months now.
How great would it be if he came out and wrestled and he put like that kinetic tape on his tribal tattoo? He's embarrassed by the Samoan dynasty. Like in spite of the, he can go off like. When I was a kid, they locked the doors of my house because of the Samoan dynasty. My dad married into that Samoan dynasty, and you guys are all about poverty and trash. And I'm so much better than you. And because of you, the only reason I became the biggest star in pro wrestling, the biggest star in Hollywood, is because I turned my back on the Samoan dynasty. And you can all go fuck yourselves.
Why do you think I left this dump?
Exactly. If he came out and did that, the crowd, you wrestling fans are a bunch of marks. Like I became better despite I used you to become the biggest star in Hollywood. And you guys are all trash and you're stupid and you're gullible. Yeah, it would work for sure.
And then he can go triple meta and be like, all you losers here in Cleveland, Ohio remind me of my Jumanji 4 co-star, Kevin Hart, like in theaters, June 16th.
Yo, if he did promo a movie,
like they do it anyway with commercials right after, so like might as well just like go fucking nuts.
And everybody starts booing as he's
Yeah,
placement.
But don't worry, it's in IMAX June 17th.
Or he can just come out and cut a
not
promo.
like you Cleveland fans can afford to go see a movie in the IMAX.
Yes.
It'd be great if he just came out and didn't even talk wrestling, just promoted his movies.
100%, I agree.
That would make it an even bigger deal. Yeah, I don't care. I'm using this valuable TV time they could have gave to a rookie or someone who actually cares about professional wrestling. I'm not going to use my TV time to talk about wrestling. I'm going to use my time to talk about Fast and the Furious 407. Like whatever it is.
We're in space.
Great.
But that first pop that Rock gets, there's going to be a pop, and you have to roll.
Otherworldly.
There always is. Yeah.
One little piece of fantasy booking I want to throw at you guys, and I want to see what you're going to be able to do with this, because this is a very important storyline that's been going on for years now, and we've got to wrap it up in this new Triple H regime. How would you book the end of the 24/7 title?
I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I don't want. They haven't done anything yet. I don't want it to
Make it
end.
like the hardcore title from that one video,
But-
or we're always looking around from the Attitude Era. For some reason, someone just decided that the 24/7 title was like legitimately like a pseudo, U.S. title light. Like now they'll have times where they're just like the 24/7 title is off limits for this next match. Like
Yeah,
what
like
the
what are we
fuck?
talking
Like, no,
about?
that should never be happening. The 24/7 title should always be chaos. It shouldn't be the 10.
But we
wrestlers
haven't
in
gotten that chaos
My
since Triple H
dream-
took
but
over.
it shouldn't be the 10, because sometimes when there's a massive building on fire, you got to start at like the key foundational floors, not the 18th floor window. With the 24/7 title. I say just get it back to chaos, not the bottom 10 wrestlers of the roster running out to the ring during the middle of a match nobody cares about.
You know what I want? I want R-Truth to win it next, and then he never loses the title for 15 years. Like, R-Truth is just like, we get backstage segments of people trying to take down R-Truth, and he's just the best 24/7 champion ever. He's always got some like weapon nearby or something, and that's how we end it.
I was
It's just
literally
R-Truth's
just gonna
title.
say, have R-Truth take it, and then start doing like vignettes where he's at home, like watching Better Call Saul eating a bag of chips, and all of a sudden he sees someone like in his front yard. He pulls the binoculars out, and like something like that. When they
He's got
were doing like the
booby traps set up around the house. and
yeah, like
shit.
some Home Alone type shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. And-
Here's how you do it. You go complete full circle. You bring back Alundra Blaze. She wins it. She puts it in the trash on live TV.
They already brought
I
her
like
back for
that,
NXT,
too.
so yeah.
They did. What, bro? Was that the trash?
took
There
the
were
ti-
two
took the
trash
title out
fires
of the
on
trash,
TV.
yeah.
There was a trash fire backstage on Raw, and then there was literally Carmelo Hayes setting a title on fire in the trash.
But all I'm trying to say is, if they're not doing anything with the
Flash
NXT, it's basically just a piece of jewelry for Dana Brooke at this point. That's the only time you can see it or have it mentioned is if she happens to be in a match and 24/7 isn't involved. We haven't seen any shenanigans or any craziness or anything. I'm just thinking that they're in a holding pattern until they figure out whether they want to do anything with it at all. And if they figure they don't want to do anything with it at all, you got to end it somehow, like merge it with the U.S. title or unify it or something.
Mhm.
It's the real world championship, so that's all. That's all that I know. It deserves its respect, however they end it. All right, anybody got anything else before we go?
One thing I had in closing that I didn't get to mention earlier, when we were talking about the Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre promo, I think a lot of things, or something that a lot of fans, a lot of people probably just kind of skirted over and didn't realize. Loved the tribute to Owen Hart by Kevin Owens saying enough is enough and it's time for a change.
I caught that.
I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people did not catch that though, and I just don't think that should just be skimmed over. I think that's just another piece of the Triple H puzzle right there.
Love that.
Or just letting the character be a character, because you know
Right.
that, you know what I'm saying, like Vince McMahon, like, you can't say that. Talk about Butch.
It's time for Butch.
Yeah.
Or it's
Oh
time for
my
Pete
God.
Dunne, according to his that tweet that he pulled out from the Black and Gold days.
Your
He's
first
hoping.
name isn't Austin anymore. It's just Theory.
Just theory. His brother Thesis the other day. I saw that tweet.
Oh
Did you see
yeah,
that? It's from AEW.
he's a legend.
Yeah,
It's
can't wait
incredible.
to watch Triple H hopefully undo everything that Vince did in the last couple of years. So
I thought you were gonna say like Triple H beat Roman Reigns himself. That's what we're coming to.
I'd
That's what I
take
thought was
it.
If you told me that 3 years
You've done it
or,
before, I guess.
4 years ago, I wouldn't be surprised at all. So
Remember, we are only not that far removed from Triple H winning the Royal Rumble in the WWE title.
I was gonna
That
say, it's like it
Yep.
basically happened 4 years ago.
yeah, exactly.
He came out 30, and we're like, oh no, this is
Okay, real quick
Time to play the
capsule.
game.
Real quick time capsule before we sign off. It's August 21st, 2022. Who comes out number 30 WWE Royal Rumble right
Oh,
now?
come on.
Cody Rhodes got to be the favorite.
Cody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cody, John
Is there
Cena.
anybody
at 30.
else
I don't
possible?
know. No.
Cena at 30 would actually be hysterical because he'd probably get enough of a pop and crowd support to want.
Well, he said he's going to be at WrestleMania, regardless, whatever
Johnny
that means.
Gargano.
Yeah.
Where is it this year? It's going to be in San Antonio again, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt's probably up there too.
I think
I'm
Cody's the heavy favorite. He's got to be.
Yeah, most of these guys we're talking about, Wyatt, Gargano, they would probably debut by the Royal Rumble, but Cody's timeline with his injury is going to be probably right up against the Royal Rumble.
Here's the thing, though. I don't see Triple H doing Cody at 30. He's just going to telegraph win the Rumble. I say if Cody's returning, put Cody in at like 5. He doesn't get a good pull.
Right.
And he has to sell the whole match. He's sitting there, laying there, his arms like hanging out of his body and shit like that. And that's how Cody will win the Rumble.
That's
He's
a
not
great
coming
point.
back Superman.
That makes perfect
30's
sense.
a tough spot.
Yeah, that makes
30's a
perfect
tough
sense,
spot.
which means it might actually happen now.
That's what I mean.
And then
That's
the final
wrestling
two
story.
competitors in the ring with a shot at WrestleMania: Cody and Seth.
Yo,
Yep.
Seth might actually try to kill Cody Rhodes if
Seth
he loses the Royal Rumble to him.
at 30, and then
You're not gonna take it from me, Cody.
That still might be, if they're doing 2 nights of WrestleMania, that might just be one night, and Roman versus whoever else is the other night, because I think they have enough with it.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm going Seth Rollins. I like that. I think Seth Rollins.
Seth
is
Rollins
30.
at 30, and he's like,
Yeah.
"No, you're not taking this from me, Cody.
With a-
I drew the 30 spot. This is my Royal Rumble."
Just on this last one, what do you got for Killer Kowalski here? You think it's Royal Rumble to WrestleMania when Cody comes back?
I think
Yeah,
Cody's back as the biggest star in the company, or one of the biggest stars in the company again, because he's still moving merch. He's still doing social numbers. All the metrics that they look at now, he's on top for everything. So
Yeah.
And Triple H and Cody are very close. So if anybody's going to extra push Cody, it's going to be Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
And
Yep.
he saw what you don't think, like, this is, I think we talked about this the last pod, is that they don't like for some reason WWE has gone against, or wrestling fans in general like don't want to see matches or feuds over again. Like they're like, oh, we need all these fresh new matchups and everything. But it's like there's something to having a rivalry and having like some time in between, then coming back to it and everything. Triple H definitely is gonna love that shit, and you know that Triple H loved that Hell in a Cell match and everything they did in there without all the stuff that was devoted to him, which is definitely why he liked it a little bit more than anything else. But
And
just
those are
the
his two
storytelling and
guys.
everything. Yeah, and that just feels like the story. That's the best story they have to tell left
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I
to
could
keep
see
them back together.
Seth and Cody having a blow-off match in one of the between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania pay-per-views leading up to the title match of WrestleMania that Cody will go for.
Yeah.
It's all
Could you-
it's all Tanahashi and Okada's fault. You can't have a good rivalry anymore.
It's true.
Okay, with 2 nights of WrestleMania, could you see them doing both Cody versus Roman and Rock versus Roman, with Cody getting like a secondary match on night 1?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think night 2 WrestleMania is,
To be
Roman
honest-
Rock.
To be honest,
solidified.
one night main event of WrestleMania is going to be a women's match under Triple H, and it's probably going to be Becky Ronda.
Oh yeah,
I think it's going to be one night of a main event, or Sasha involved somewhere too, depending on what happens with
Fucking
her and
Ronnie.
Naomi. But
So if you
Yeah.
predicted one way or another who Roman's single opponent is going to be at WrestleMania, is it Cody or is
Cody.
it Rock?
Cody,
I'm going with The
I would say
Rock.
Cody.
I'm going with
I
The
think
Rock.
we should get Rock Cena third time in a lifetime.
I go 3 in a lifetime.
That's 2 out of 3.
I'm going Rock just because I think you're gonna kind of start to run out of runway for The Rock to do a solid wrestling.
If it's not Hollywood, when is it? Right?
Yeah,
it's not
Hollywood. This one, when
If
is
it's
it?
not-
Rock's not
yeah.
doing Seattle.
Yeah. You know what?
He's
You're right.
also, he's also
Or do you
51
bring?
years
Or
old
do you
now.
bring him? Or do you bring him back? Then that's the only way I could see. Like they don't do it. Is that's his return spot? But like that's the biggest stage of them all. I feel like you got to do the match there. It's in
That's right.
Hollywood, like Maniac said. So, and then you could like have Rock cutting promos about like you'll see Roman like. You're already on like a part-time schedule anyway. Once you start actually getting movie roles, you'll see that this shit treats you better than wrestling anyway. And like, yeah.
But that is interesting. If we are talking about 2 night, we've never seen Triple H with 2 night WrestleManias. What if he does look at it as like night 1 can lead into night 2, and you have like Rollins wins the Rumble, fights Roman night 1. Cody has some match against somebody else on the roster, and whoever, if he wins, he fights for the title the next night, and Roman still has 2 matches on. Like they could get creative with wanting to tell stories over 2 nights if they really
Sure.
wanted to. Because this year it felt like 2 completely different shows like together or whatever,
Yeah.
separately from each other.
Yeah, they might do something like that. What they did that
plays into the next night, you know.
What they did at WrestleMania 10 with Luger and Brett, but they did it all on one night. And now that they have 2 nights to spread it out, and they have 2 titles that eventually USA wants to have them separate, maybe they keep the 2 titles together until WrestleMania, and with two nights.
Like,
and,
what if night 1 is Roman, Rock, and Cody versus Rollins, and Cody versus Rollins is for like the number 1 contender, and Roman Rock is for the title.
That's what I'm saying.
Next night, they do something like that. Yeah.
Haven't they been doing that with the Wrestle Kingdoms too, with like New Japan? Isn't that what
Wrestle
they did?
Kingdom's back to 1 night this year, but last year they did do that. They had a match where it was like a number 1 contenders match, and the next night they fought Okada.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that's an interesting thing to look at there.
A lot of
It
potential.
would just build the urgency around the nights too, because then you're like really looking at night 2 and you're just like, damn, like we don't even know what the card is for the second night, but it would, you'd be okay with whatever the things are out of it.
It would incentivize people to get both nights and not just the second
Yeah,
one.
that would.
That's what I'm thinking. From a ticket or view standpoint, you're gonna look at it and be like, oh, I'm sorry, Cody's on both nights. Well, now I gotta try my best to either watch both nights or make sure that I got tickets for both nights.
Right, because there was no real incentive for people that wanted to see the specific match. Like both nights is expensive to go to in person. They'd pick like one or the other that they really want to go to. Speaking of which, our own Ernie Green is going to be in attendance night 1. How about that?
Well, I'll be in attendance for both. And honestly,
let's go.
The tickets for I just sent one picture. The tickets for both nights of WrestleMania were actually cheaper than the one ticket I got for WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. So we're on the 200 level, like really good level. So we were in a similar spot in Dallas. So tickets were, relatively speaking, affordable.
Dang.
Yeah,
that's good to hear.
I'd have to show up.
I know. I've been thinking about the WrestleMania trip. That's
I
like
gotta
the
get
really.
to a Mania.
We're going to Philly. Yeah. We got to go to Philly.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah,
that's a good one. It's a good
Very
idea.
plausible.
I think this will be number 7 for me. But I don't count Phoenix because it was 15 minutes from my house. When you go to something 15 minutes from your house, did you really go? No. That doesn't count. When it takes no effort to do something, you know what I'm saying? You didn't go. Yeah, you didn't go.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a lot of things then, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, I haven't been to the doctors in like a decade then.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Maniac, take us home. You're the
as far as Ernie Green's concerned, he's not wrestling his budget with those WrestleMania tickets. It's not wrestling with your thoughts. It's not wrestling with the hype of House of the Dragon tonight. It is, as far as AEW and World Wrestling Entertainment are concerned, wrestling with emotion.